These are moments when cops rescue kids from evil parents. Like the time police discovered an 11-year-old autistic boy locked inside a homemade cage. Or the time police rescue a family who was taken hostage by their own father. First, we'll start with the heartbreaking case of an 11-year-old girl found begging officers to take her away from home. On March 15, 2024, in Piedmont, Oklahoma, an officer found a runaway child who, upon being found, begged the police not to take her back home. Noticing that she was morbidly and showed signs of malnourishment, the officer assured her that they would help her. But on the way back to her house, the child shared some concerning information about her mother. Scared teen's description of her mom locking her in a closet for sneaking in food set off alarm bells in the cop. Such accusations, if true, were enough to send the mom to jail. But investigation would soon reveal that it was only the tip of the iceberg. Upon conducting a search of 43-year-old foster mom Tina Ramirez's home, the cops found locks on the pantries and refrigerator, multiple cameras across the house, pepper spray, and a taser. Just like the oldest child who ran away, the other kids were malnourished, accused Tina of physical abuse, and described 7 prior attempts to run away. However, the most damning evidence was a letter written by one of the kids that revealed several chilling details about what they went through at home. After the officer read aloud the contents of the letter, Tina was clearly taken aback, giving him the perfect opportunity to push her into confessing some incriminating details. It's wild how Tina would admit to inflicting mental abuse and getting into physical fights with her kids, but could not accept that she was starving them as well. The interview went in circles for a while, eventually causing the officer to lose his cool and end the session for the day. However, before leaving, he asked one last question that revealed some more alarming information. It was shocking how Tina casually admitted to using the on her kids while playing around, showing just how normalized child was in her household. Medical evaluations later revealed that one of the children had scars from being tased and hit by a bolt. With all the mounting evidence, the cops returned on March 19th to arrest Tina and her 26-year-old husband, Anthony Abiziaco, on multiple charges of child abuse and neglect. Tina also faced an additional charge of assault and battery with a weapon. The children have been taken under emergency care by their biological grandmother, who is currently trying to win permanent custody over them. In the next case, cops try to save two children from the clutches of addicted parents. On the morning of March 10th, officers at Silver City, New Mexico, responded to a 911 call about a whole family being unresponsive within their home. The officer who opened the door to the house would have no idea what he was walking into. laying on the floor of the filthy, cluttered room were 34-year-old Music Adame and 39-year-old Matthew Brenham, who seemed to be in a daze. The cop was on the lookout for their daughter, who was reportedly unresponsive, but she was nowhere to be found. Unfortunately, this was not because she had managed to get away. It wasn't until the officer checked between Matthew and Music that he noticed a 5-year-old girl lying unconscious under her parents. She needed help immediately if she was going to survive, but the greatest obstacle to saving her life would turn out to be her own parents. As time went ticking on, the officer grew impatient and grabbed the still unresponsive daughter, allowing hope to creep in. Believing it possible to revive her, the cops performed CPR and administered Narcan to reverse symptoms of possible drug overdose. However, it soon became clear that she had already passed away. Shockingly, Matthew and Music were put in jail 2 months after the incident. The official cause of the daughter's death was ruled as carbon monoxide poisoning. She likely suffocated from the fumes released by the burning coal that was being used to heat the room without proper ventilation, a practice that the parents were already warned against by the authorities. Thankfully, their other son, a 7-year-old boy, survived the incident. Both parents were charged with multiple counts of child abuse. Up next is a case in which cops found an autistic child left abandoned in a cage by his negligent parents. On April 23, 2025, in Henderson, Nevada, a truancy officer was making routine wellness checks on children who had not shown up to school for several days across the district. One of these kids was the 11-year-old son of Jeffrey and Misty Scanlon, who was diagnosed with severe autism and attended a special needs school. Upon arriving at their residence, the parents reportedly did not open the door for over 40 minutes. During that time, the truancy officer heard a child screaming, along with banging and rattling sounds, which made her feel that something was definitely not right. By the time Jeffrey opened the doors, cops had arrived at the scene. After explaining the situation to Jeffrey, the cops entered the house, and what they saw inside was beyond shocking. One side of the house had been barricaded by metal bars running from floor to ceiling, essentially forming a makeshift prison. Inside the cage was the autistic son, sitting on a couch and wearing nothing but a diaper. Upon noticing the cops, he made sure to express his unhappiness the only way he knew how. It was bad enough that a child was locked in a cage with no way out, but to make matters worse, the cops noticed feces smeared over the walls and trash scattered on the floor. According to Jeffrey, the only way to handle his son's violent outbursts was by keeping him in the cage for the past 6 years. But why the area inside the cage was so filthy was still unanswered. It was baffling how his parents had gone so long without cleaning the enclosure and allowed their son to sleep in those unhygienic conditions. When asked if they made any attempts to seek services to better take care of their child, Jeffrey's answer revealed his grave ignorance. Obvious to anyone that these were not safe living conditions, the son was taken to the hospital to get checked out, while their other 3 kids were taken by Child Protective Services. Somehow, Jeffrey and Misty Scanlon were only charged with 1 gross misdemeanor count of child neglect and endangerment and sentenced to 1 year of probation. In the next case, police rescue a boy who was taken hostage by his own father. On February 3, 2021, in Michigan, the Detroit Police Department received a call from a distressed woman hiding from her husband. The woman spoke in a whisper during the call, indicating just how dangerous the situation was for herself and her 2 children. Some moments later, she would call again, and things would quickly spiral out of control. At this point, the police had already reached the house and needed time to set up a perimeter. It was critical that neither the police nor the woman give anything away to the suspect, so the dispatcher tried calming her down. Soon, the cops began knocking on the door. Seeing the police at his doorstep, the suspect knew he was in trouble, but he would not go down without a fight. He went straight upstairs where the others were hiding and tried opening the locked door. Once the woman opened the door, all hell broke loose. Upon hearing the screams, the cops sprung into action. It took multiple armed officers to subdue the husband, who managed to repeatedly wife before being stopped. After arresting the man, the cops found the scared children upstairs, and the body cam footage captured a heart-touching moment. Can only hope that the kids were able to lead a better life after their horrible father was taken away. In the next case, a cop risks his own life to protect a child from a reckless driver who tries to evade the law. It was midnight on July 10th, 2024, in Buffalo, New York, when police pulled over a car for a speeding violation and tinted windows. The driver was 25-year-old Devon Roberts, who was on his way back to his sister's place with his younger cousin in tow. What seemed like a routine stop would quickly take a turn, as the officers were about to uncover a series of red flags they couldn't ignore. Devon failed to produce a physical driver's license and instead gave a picture of it on his phone. He tried to play it cool by swearing he knew it was perfectly valid because he got pulled over almost every day. But before running it through the system, Ammerman asked him a simple question that would end up raising suspicion. While Devon denied having any illegal items in the car, the little boy's shady statements seemed to suggest otherwise. For the moment, Devon would defuse the situation by laughing it off as a joke, but Ammerman couldn't shake the feeling that something was off and signaled the other officer to stay on high alert. At this point, Officer Ammerman was probably preparing to slap Devon with a fine for speeding and driving without a license, but he failed to realize that he just put his life in real danger by opening the car door. While the officer was still holding the door, Devon slammed the gas pedal in an attempt to flee. He would ignore all of the cops' pleas to stop, accelerating to speeds of over 60 miles per hour. The events that followed would unfold just as fast. Officer Ammerman was clinging to the side of the car for almost 30 seconds when he tried to put his foot on the brakes, but Devon started kicking him and tried to reach for his gun, leaving him with no choice but to shoot the driver 5 times, making Devon finally let go of the wheel. Remarkably, the first thing that the cop did after tumbling out of the car was to check on the boy. Fortunately, the kid was uninjured, but the same could not be said for Devon. Suffering heavy blood loss, Devon was taken to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. A subsequent search warrant of the car revealed a loaded handgun. Devon also had a history with law enforcement, with prior charges of first-degree attempted assault and second-degree criminal possession of a weapon.